Sorry, please introduce yourselves. I'm not ready to introduce anyone here. Do all your publicity and your bragging. Say all the big things you are doing. We want
I
to know.
introduce Edmund so that he introduces me.
That would be exciting.
Yeah.
How do I call him? My what? Spontaneous conversationist.
Yeah.
His name is Edmund Afarilabi, or Edmund Labi Afari. You can call him Dr. Afarilabi, which is simply Dale, Dael. He has a background in food science and technology from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science, and he went ahead to read his master's at Queen's University, right?
Yep.
And now he's Washington State University reading a PhD in food science. I think Edmund is quite a versatile person. He has a very, very profound enthusiasm towards youth development, career development, and mentorship. And he's been in the play for quite a number of times. If not for the fact that I am his friend, I would have been his mentee, but he refuses to call me a mentee, so let's end it there. But he's quite an amazing person, and I hope he's going to contribute colossally to this conversation.
Colossally.
That's Ralph for you. Yeah. Okay. So Ralph, we attended the same school in Kent University, so we both have background in food science and technology. So that's why he did his bachelor's, and he is a MasterCard scholar. So he should tell you who he is, right? And after his bachelor's, he's currently he actually transited through Arkansas University to do his master's, and for some reason he went to McGill in Canada to do his master's, which he completed last year, and he's currently doing his PhD in bioresource engineering. So he's one of the few people in our batch who has had the courage to move into food engineering, especially looking at how, I mean, in final year we had a food engineering professor who he just sucked out the joy to do food engineering, but Ralph went ahead to continue food engineering. And Ralph is, anytime you talk to Ralph, you gain something from him, and I'm sure now you know this, right? Because of his wisdom and all that. So it's always a privilege to talk to Ralph. He's my best friend. He's my brother. He's everything. So yeah, that's Ralph.
Okay.
Thank you for the pressure. Thank you for the pressure.
Beautiful. Yeah. So to you all who are gathered here, thank you so much for joining this live, and we have 2 PhD candidates on this live. One in Canada, one in the USA with me. Ralph, why did you leave the US? Like, if I knew we were going to be 2 here and you're in Canada, anyway, let me just leave that for some other time.
Conversation, don't bring it up. Before I get roasted by the boys back at the background.
Let me not bring this up now. Hello, Yum. Okay, let's start this conversation with a question. This was a question someone sent to me on my Instagram live when I asked my audience to share with me questions and concerns they would want us to address. And this person wants to know what she should do when it comes to her purpose. She says knowing one's purpose and not doing anything about it because everyone else is doing something about it, or everyone else is doing the same thing that she has figured that is her purpose. So I would like to start this conversation from the importance of knowing one's purpose in the first place. And I would start with Raphael on this, because this seems to be something we talk about very often when it comes to purpose. So what's the importance of knowing one's purpose?
You know, this purpose conversation has been a big topic, and everyone seems to be wanting to find their purpose and how that is going to change their lives and what to do in life and all. But in finding purpose and in knowing one's purpose, I think it's critical to you living a fulfilled life. I think if no one finds their purpose, it's going to be very difficult for them to even live a fulfilled life, because people are alive, they are doing something, and they still do not have joy. Why? Because what they are doing is not necessarily what their purpose is. So to know your purpose is actually to give yourself the ticket to fulfillment, to give yourself the ticket to joy, to give yourself the ticket to doing or bringing out the best in you. People are doing work that I bet you if they place them in other environments, they are going to do excessively well. But just because what they are doing is not exactly something they want to do, their purposes, they are not giving out their best. So I think knowing your purpose is actually giving yourself that ticket to a fulfilled life. Let me end there for Edmund to come in, and then I can give more clues later.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I follow Miles Muro a lot, and if you follow Miles Muro, you know that he's a purpose man. Or I don't want to say he was a purpose man, but he is a purpose man, and he always said that without purpose, abuse is inevitable. So you realize that there's nothing in this world that you can pinpoint to that does not do anything, right? So that's the first thing that we have to know, that everything in this world is for a particular purpose. And if everything, even inanimate objects, are for a particular purposes, then how much more we humans, right? So that means we were created for particular purposes. And the importance of having a purpose is that I've come to understand that once you have a purpose, it actually gives you a sense of direction and focus in life. Because then if you don't take care, you'll be beating around the bush and doing everything just following the crowd. People are doing it, so you're also doing it. But if you have a sense of purpose, it makes you so much specific that you know that this is what I'm supposed to do. So you leave everything and you chase that particular dream. So one of the most important reasons why you have to know your purpose, so live a purpose-driven life, is give you a focus. It makes you focus, right? And it also serves as a sort of motivation, because then sometimes it's difficult to keep going when things are very tough. But then why do you do what you're doing currently? So, for instance, why are you doing a bachelor's degree? What is the reason why you're doing a bachelor's degree? You should know that, okay, you're doing a bachelor's degree because it will help you achieve a particular thing. And that's why people will stop their bachelor's degree and go ahead to do something else, and they'll be fulfilled there, because then the bachelor's degree was not leading them to their purpose. But then if you know that it is part of the process, then it serves as a sort of motivation. So once you know your purpose, it motivates you that even in the current situation, if things are not going on well, you know that it is part of the process. You get it?
Yeah.
Then it also helps in making decisions. You always have a choice to make in this world. You always have a choice to do. Once you wake up to the time you sleep, you're always making choice. But then the choice that you make will be determined by a purpose. So where you have to school, who you have to marry, I mean, where you have to church, all these things, they stem from your purpose. Yeah.
And I agree with you on that. You said we were all created for reasons, and one of the writings I've done that I can't wait to share is on you are a somebody too. Your purpose is what makes you a somebody. Because you do not know your purpose, or because you are not acting on your purpose, you feel or you think that other people are somebodies and you are not. You feel other people are superior and you are not.
Right.
But it is that purpose that makes you a somebody too. Knowing it and acting on it is what makes you feel fulfilled, just as Raphael said. Is what makes you feel like, okay, now I'm being seen. Now I'm being heard. Now I'm really being resourceful. Now I'm being impactful. Now I'm of an importance to my generation, or to my people, or to my community, to my nation. So it is your purpose that makes you a somebody. And in this case, this person knows her purpose, all right, but then
Right.
she feels everyone else is doing the same thing and she's reluctant now. So what do you think she should do? Before that, Nuru says that the purpose of life is what prevents you from killing yourself. And that's what I agree. Thank you so much for the love, Seth, and keep being awesome, Nana. Yes, you can go ahead, Edmund.
Okay, so her problem is that everybody is doing the same thing.
Yes.
So then you think that you are not. Um, It's going to be, so if everybody is doing the same thing, so maybe probably you want to, if you go to, let's say, a typical Ghanaian market, right? You see a number of people on the same stretch selling tomatoes. They're all doing the same thing, but you realize that probably someone is doing something unique that it makes the person. Yes, they're all selling tomatoes. The broader thing is tomatoes, so that could be the purpose. The purpose is selling tomatoes, but in selling that tomatoes, what are you doing differently in selling that tomato? Is it that, oh, okay, for you, instead of giving people plastic rubbers, you give people paper rubbers? Is different. So yes, it could be that you're doing the same thing as someone is doing, but just find that particular thing that will make you unique. That particular thing that will make you unique. It will make everybody is doing a YouTube channel, but why is your YouTube channel unique?
Yeah.
Everybody is attending school, but why is yours unique? Everybody is selling something, but why is yours unique? So it doesn't matter whether people are doing the same thing. Just try and find the thing that you can do to make your own stand out. That's what I'll say.
Absolutely.
Complement what Edmund is saying, like with the tomato sellers example. See that everyone is selling the same tomato, but some way, somehow, you go to the market and everyone is having a consumer base or a customer base, right? It tells you that if the similarity of purposes does not mean that you will not have a market niche, a scope, a place that your purpose would be useful. So usually people get entangled within that scope that, okay, everyone is doing the same thing, and they try to run away from a process they call identification. So knowing your purpose is one thing, and identifying the niche where your purpose would be useful is another thing. So let's say we are all in the university, we are leaders. I mean, Edmund and myself, we've been in leadership for some time. I knew that I was someone that loved leadership, and I knew that I was to serve a purpose in leadership within my department. Edmund had a similar vision. But then thinking about how I should do mine gave me a whole different perspective about the leadership. So I wasn't necessarily a pronounced leader, like maybe executive of a department or something. But there were things I did that contributed so much to the leadership that my year group executed. And I was a volunteering deputy to Edmund in some cases. I wasn't called. I wasn't necessarily voted for or appointed to hold that position. But knowing that I have that leadership in me, and probably my market nature is not necessary to become an elected leader, I had to find that niche and pursue it in that scope. So for the person that has seen their purpose, but is seeing that everyone is doing the same thing, I will encourage the person to take this step. Identify which niche has not been touched yet, and then try perceiving that niche. And usually, this is how people do it. Sometimes people try to look at their past. The moment you try disconnecting your past from your future, there is an error. I know that a lot of people hold the perspective that we should forget about the past and look forward to the future. But you know something? God intentionally placed you in a past just to teach you something for the future. So if you have a purpose and you're trying to find how to execute it, you can take a clue from your past. Where are you from? What are the things that happened to you? What experiences did you have? And in executing that purpose, you can try to either prevent people from going through the same thing, which may not necessarily be dealt with, something that has not been dealt with the people that are doing the same thing. That may be a small niche that you can try to pursue. So I will encourage the person to identify a particular niche that people are not playing within and start executing their purpose in that niche.
I agree with you all that you have to distinguish yourself, and that's where branding becomes very necessary. You brand yourself in a way that you are distinguished. You become different from every other person. And I like the example you gave with the market scene. And also, you have to identify which niche has not been touched yet, and you can actually make yourself comfortable in that space to distinguish yourself, which brings us back to what Edmund said. Again, one thing I have come to learn about purpose, our similar, or let me say same purposes, is that our impacts are different. Our impacts are different. I don't know how I'm going to explain this, but you have to know and understand that we may all be headed in the same direction, but we are not going to the same place. And even if we find ourselves in the same place, we are meant to do different things. Our objectives are different, our impact is different, and our audience is different as well. That's why, like you said, you listen to Dr. Monroe a lot. I listen to him a lot, but the impact he will have on you will be different from the impact you have on me. Sometimes we can both listen to the same person, and that person may have an influence on one person, and that person may not have an influence on anybody at all. But it will take a different person to say the same thing to have an impact on the same person. On the same person we are talking about. And this is how it is. Our impact is different. Our audience is different, and it takes you to do that which only you can do. It takes you to do that which only you can do. There may be different people on the market. I'm yet to hear the sky say that there are a lot of stars in the sky, so some should come down for. I don't know. It doesn't happen. It's not realistic. It won't happen. So feel confident in your space. Even if there are 10, 20, 15 of you in the same space doing the same things, you may want to come off as very confident in what you are doing and keep at it. Keep at it. You may want to distinguish yourself. You may want to carve a niche for yourself, and you may want to focus on the impact you make. So I'll go ahead and read.
If you give me a second, I would like to make a contribution.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I mean, I don't want us to throw complementary, right? You may be doing the same thing, and just as Abena said, but your impacts are different. Sometimes the impacts are not even different. They are the same thing. Just that in God's own wisdom, He has made yours the more like the reiterating purpose. So your purpose comes to re-establish or re-emphasize or reiterate that particular impact in the life of someone. So let's say Edmund had someone that he was teaching about vision, right? The person has listened to Edmund the same thing over a long period of time, and probably they parted ways or they lost connection. And some way, somehow, I am the same person. I speak the same terms. I use the same terminologies as Edmund. But then God places me in the life of this person. I say the exact same thing. And what it does is not necessarily to create a new impact, but to bring a remembrance. So there are people whose purposes are actually the reiterating purpose. So they come in there to actually re-emphasize whatever you have learned, or give you that reignition that, okay, this is the path you should go. And that small remembrance or reignition actually puts the person on their feet to fulfill whatever they want. So if they think that someone is doing something which is exactly the same thing, see yourself as the reiterating person who is going to re-emphasize the role of God in the person's life, or re-emphasize the role of that impact in the person's life. And you don't know how far the person can go with that.
That's absolutely true. And wow, we are already about 30 minutes into this conversation, and we've only touched on one segment. So let's come to the second segment, where Sir Sam Jonah made a statement to the 2024 graduating class of Morgan State University in the USA during last weekend. We have all read this, but I'd like to read a few sentences from what he said, and we can get into the conversation. Okay. All right, so I'll start with this. He says, through no fault of yours, a different world with various and evolving challenges await you. While many forebears may find cold comfort and progress made in certain aspects of life, I am not afraid to say in candor and humility that my generation has not been kind to you. We have left for you a world riddled with wars, famine, disease, racial and gender discrimination, and a multitude of problems, he told the 2024 graduating class. And seriously, I must applaud his confidence, his boldness to have made the statement, to even think he apologized. In addition to that, he apologized to the youth across the world on behalf of current global leaders, that his generation, you see, it takes a different form or kind of conviction for one to be able to come out and make such a bold statement and claim. And with this statement, what is the implication of it for you and I as young people? How do you feel hearing this? Is this something you had thought of, or is it something you've been wanting to think about, and the Vice Chancellor bringing up this conversation has sparked something within you? Or I want to know your thoughts on this.
So yeah, so as you said, honestly, for him to make that statement, it's actually, accepting your mistakes is a strong leadership character that not everybody has. And sometimes communication is very important, because then you do something to someone and you tell the person, oh, I'm sorry. You acknowledge the fact that you know what you've done wrong. So that alone brings a bit of relief. And that is what I think the youth we need now. Because then, yes, a lot of these leaders, they feel this. And even in our country called Ghana, you could see that things are not going on well and all that. And I always say that if we have a leader, no, if we have a leader who always talks to the people and always acknowledge that, okay, this is what we intended to do, but we are not able to do that because of A, B, and C. At least it will prevent us from getting angry rather than acting indifferent, rather than acting as if we don't know what you've done. So just hearing this statement, I think in a way it has made me understand that, okay, they know that, yes, what they've done is wrong. So then it means we, as the youth, we have to come up and solve these particular problems, because they are the departing generation. They are leaving us very soon. So then they've stated that this is the problem that we've created. Yes, we can forgive them, but then we also have to see a way of solving, or solving the problems that they've created. Yeah.
Yes, Ralph.
I
I'm
like,
itching to
I,
hear what you have to say.
I like the fact that this is a spontaneous conversation, and we are bound to agree and disagree. When I read the statement, the headline, our my generation has failed you. I mean, looking at it intensely, you realize that there is actually a failure. And this failure, I mean, looking at where he narrated the speech, you realize that it is relative. He talks about a couple of things. He talks about famine. He talks about gender discrimination. He talks about leadership.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you see that actually some people haven't failed in some of them. So the failure is actually distributed. And I would like to talk about the failure from a location specific point of view. In Ghana, I would not say it's a failure per se, but it breaks my heart to say that there is a lot of opportunity for the Ghanaian community. Yes, still, it looks like some things have bridled our mouth and has entangled our hands, so we are not able to actually do what we are supposed to do. And I like what Dr. Sam Jonah did, if I'm right, in actually telling us that it is leadership which has become the major problem of these crises in some of the countries. And I would say that leadership is one of the major things that is pushing whatever failure we are seeing in Ghana. But he encourages something which is very profound. And what does he do? He tells us that it is important and it is very prudent that young people start participating
in the governance
of the society. So though there is something that looks like failure, there is an opportunity. And I would like to emphasize more on the opportunity we have. As a young people who see the impending failure, I call it impending failure, and say your cry, your opportunity. The impending failure, I think we have to take on the mantle to participate in politics. Now, I can bet you that a few Ghanaian youth would like to venture into politics. Why? Because I can see that there are some restrictions when it comes to a young person wanting to participate in politics. I know some few friends who have gone out of their way to push. And when they pushed, things are happening. I mean, we can talk about what is Esquire Sami Gemfi and the rest. They are all pushing, right? Though I don't know the motives they have. Maybe it may be in line with the agenda to change the trajectory in Ghana now. But if the youth have seen something like a failure, then I will encourage that we take on the mantle as people who have been called to pursue a purpose in changing the governance in the country and push for the success that we envision. Else, Edmund talked about the fact that they are the departing generation. Some are going to be there for like 20 years or more.
I know.
They are not departing now. So if you're going to wait till 20 years before we the youth start inputting our efforts, then I bet you we will see something worse than failure in the coming years. So I would say that it is time. It is now that we have to input our intellect. We have to input our skills. We have to input our knowledge. Do anything we can as a youth, as a body of youth, to actually spare the innovations, the successes that we are looking for.
I'm being tempted to say
Ghana.
that this is easier said than done, because just as you said, some of them are going to live for about 20 more years, and we may have to keep up and deal with them. This thing that you're saying, there are challenges to it. If they do not leave office for us to occupy, if they do not make room for us to come in and partake, how are we going to be part of this? How are we going to be part of making policies, building the nation? Because it feels more like it is our world and they are ruling for us. They are dictating for us. They are telling us what to do. They are not even making room for us. So with all that you're saying, yes, it's opportunity, it sounds good and all that. But what are the challenges? Are we ready to talk about it? And I'm willing to read from you all on this call as well. Nuru says
we cannot forsake the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So
we cannot forsake the challenges. But let Edmund talk so I don't dominate.
The truth is, so a whole system has been built, right? And in order for you, that's as you said, it's easier said than done. But it's a whole system that has been built. So in order for you to penetrate into the system, you need you need to really penetrate into the because it's just like, sorry to say it, like the corrupt system in Ghana. It is difficult for you to penetrate into the corrupt system in Ghana because then the current youth, I think last year, somebody made a statement that if you want to know the future of politicians in Ghana, look at your current SRC. So it's just like the youth of today. We can't wait to get to the point where we are parliamentarians or we are politicians and we can also steal, right? So then it's like it's a whole system. So even the average, just last month or last 2 months, when the telecommunications network was down, I heard people were selling Airtel to go SIM for 200 cedis, right? And you see, things like this, we always point fingers at the politicians, that the politicians are corrupt and they feel this and all that. But we as individuals, we are more corrupt than the politicians. So in order for us to break this system, it's really going to be difficult. And that's why we have to, because sometimes you think about these things and you are so frustrated. And honestly, I'm getting to the point where I really don't think about the challenges and the news in Ghana because it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. So rather than thinking about the challenges and the news and all that, just try and look at your own niche and solve it, right? So one of my mentors said that the youth are not future leaders. They're leaders of today for tomorrow, or they're leaders of today for the future. So we don't wait for the future to make that impact, right? We wait now and see if you think that you can break the corrupt system in Ghana, it's going to be very difficult. So rather than just being so, not to say you should be mediocre, rather than just being so, because people can get zeal. Oh, I'm going to change the system. I'm going to change the status quo and all that. Right? That's the motivation is very good, but change it now. Think globally and act locally. What can you do now in your own small way? What can you do to make the change that you want to see? You can touch a life, touch two lives, and it can. So just do things small because it's a whole system. And as one man, you cannot break into that system. But then you can change your current circumstances, or you can change the people or the world around you. And it's going to be like a ripple effect. Then if everybody is changing one person, then I think in years to come, it's going to affect the entire generation. I mean, it's easier said than done, but then, yeah, that's what I want to say.
I mean,
This is why.
that is why I say that. I may not know what are the major problems when it comes to this political environment, but I feel like with a country having about 50 or more percent of its population being adult, that is people from 18 years and above, we are the same people that vote for the president.
Yeah.
We are the same people that vote for the MPs. We are the same people that vote for the ministers and all. So I don't see why we cannot demand a particular reason and capacity from these people who are going to be in leadership and use that as our yardstick to vote them into power. The thing is that we have two political parties, NPP and NDC. And I would say that they have effortlessly captured the heart of many youth. Now let there be an independent youth or young candidate who is going to vie for position in Ghana. I bet you, unless you have all the money in the world, you cannot succeed.
Even with
Because there is going to
that, even with all the money.
even with all the money. And why is it so? It is the same young people who are complaining about the difficulties that will vote for these people, these political parties. I mean, I'm not in for any political party, but it's the same people that will vote for them. Why? Because these people have successfully dominated the system in such a way that if you want to come in as a person, it will take you convincing the whole youth body of Ghana that we need a
Youth body, older generation themselves. You have to go to every village, every
and
Tom
so,
and
but
Jerry.
are they listening? There is a whole, that is what Edmund was saying. There is a whole system. If you are coming to change something. This person has successfully promised the person that I'm going to give you this. Everyone is thinking about themselves, is thinking about themselves and the family. So let's say, let me not be a hypocrite. Let's say that I'm Raphael and I come to Ghana. They say that Raphael vote for one of the leaders, and I'm going to give you this position. Sometimes, I mean, I may be lured into going in for that. Why? Because I think, okay, this is my breakthrough. But that is not how we should think. When we are thinking about something like that, I like what Dr. Sam Jonah said. He said that we should think community. We should think community. What is going to be the impact of that move on the whole community? And because most of these political decisions have been individualized, it is becoming very difficult to break the system. If we decide to make it a communal decision, all of us know that this political party is not doing well. All of us know that this president is not doing well. This MP is not doing well. Regardless of the money they bring, we are going to push for the right person. If we move from politics to making it a decision of the people, then I think we may be able to influence that change. I don't know how rapid that can be, but something positive may come out of it.
The good news is that we at Smiling Hour, we think community and we think youth partnerships. So if you are confused on where to go, just join the community here and let's make our own decisions and let's make our own impact. Maybe someday it's either I go and stand for president or you go and stand so that I can support you. You see. So
I will
yes,
support you, please.
let's do that, and please don't go. You may want to know what my new website has in store for you as a person, as a leader, as an organization, and yada yada. So you don't go, and we are about 45 minutes in our conversation, and we have two broad topics to discuss. I may have to go away with the last one, and we will stick to the last. But
I mean, someone said something. Seth said that, but your family is also a community, and if you don't think about them, you see, yes.
So please speak to me directly.
It's a system. It's a system, and if we are not willing to change the system, then that would be the order of the day.
Okay, it's been an insightful conversation so far, and at this point, I know a number of you are questioning yourself about some actions of yours, whether you are heading the way of participating in building your nation or building your community or something else. But let's get into the study abroad conversation already. I know a number of people have been waiting for this segment, so let's get into it. I'll start with Raphael because he came to the US and he moved to Canada. So he's had experience from both sides. And we in the US too, we will talk about ours, how we got here and how we are doing it here and how we've managed to get into the positions and offices we find ourselves. So Ralph, you are going to share with us your study abroad experience and you take us through some experience things to pay attention to when it comes to making an application to a school in Canada or the US since you've been on both sides before.
Where should I start from? Anytime I speak to anyone who asks me about this study abroad, I say that it's a plan, right? Edmund was saying that about I'm someone who wanted to read something that will make my hands a bit more dirty, and so I was very much willing to go into something engineering that takes me to the field, that takes me to the machines, that takes me to operating something. And so from the onset, I mean, the inspiration wasn't from first year, it was from second year after we took some engineering course. And so all my plan was to be able to build myself in terms of what kind of capacity I have in engineering, together with the other food science stuff that I know, so that when it is about time for me to prove my capacity, I wouldn't be struggling. But this is how it has been. Most of the time, people do not get access to this kind of information. So they get to final year, they do their national service, and they are applying for universities. And the kind of opportunities they are applying for, they don't have the necessary skills to complement them, right? So I say it's a plan. If you know you want to be in engineering, if you know you want to be in, maybe you are doing electrical engineering, you want to go into power, you want to go into electronics, you are doing food science, you want to go into quality, you want to go into nutrition, you're doing communication, maybe you want to go into strategic communication, media, and whatever. I think you start building the capacity, because no professor outside Ghana wants to go in for a student who is going to become a burden, right? They are looking for someone who is going to support the achievement of their goals. And if you're able to prove that you are worthy of that position, then I think that these people will allow you. So that is what I did. I started building the capacity. And when it was time for me to look for a professor, I was looking for a professor who would be interested in the kind of capacity that I had. So I talked to them. They were interested. I proved my capacity, and then they gave me the opportunity to work with them. But the process between looking for the professor and then getting to work with the professor is a whole theology that you would have to preach about. So I'll allow Edmund to talk about his experience, and if we have time, you can talk about that.
Okay, so I mean, graduate studies conversation is not a 5 minute talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we just want to just set the ball rolling for you. We can get in touch with Ralph, myself, or Abna anytime if you have more questions. But yeah, so for me, I was privileged to do my master's in the UK before I moved here. So I'm probably going to talk about the UK or Europe, and Abna will talk about US.
Right.
So yeah, I got my scholarship because of Ralph, and I was in the office. We're doing our national service. I was in the office. We both applied for. So in the UK, there are actually two main scholarships for the UK. So there's Chevron Scholarship and there's Commonwealth Scholarship. And for Commonwealth Scholarship, there's the Commonwealth Main, there's the Commonwealth Shared, and there's the Commonwealth, I think, Distance Scholarship. Commonwealth Main Scholarship is through the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat. And let me not say it loud, but I always don't advise people to apply for any scholarship. Let's continue. Yeah, so it's through the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, and there's the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. So with that one, it's a partnership between, I think, your university and the UK government. So you could look at a couple of universities in the UK that has that. So we both applied for the Chevron Scholarship, and as if you apply for the scholarship, you have to apply to 3 schools. So we both applied to Queen's University Belfast, and we didn't get a Chevron Scholarship. So of course, we just forgot about the schools and all that. I was in the office, then Ralph came to tell me that, Edmund, Queen's University has sent us an email to apply for this particular scholarship, but I think I hadn't seen it. So he went back to his office, he sent me the email, and the deadline was, I think, the following day or so. So I spent about 30 minutes, sat down and wrote the essay, and I sent it. So I wasn't really thinking about it. Then one Sunday, those from KNSC went to buy Daily Bites, we're eating fufu, and I received an email that I've gotten the scholarship. And thankfully, Ralph was also there. He was also in the room. And I mean, for me, it was, I don't know, like, it was just a surreal experience. And the interesting thing is, Ralph, who told me about it, he didn't get that scholarship. And in a way, I felt bad, but it just brings me to what I'm about to say. So you realize that with this scholarship journey, don't be individualistic. Find a team and go with it. We are a team of 10 guys, and I think 9 of us are outside. We are waiting for the last one to join us. If you want to go on this scholarship journey, go as a team. Don't do it individualistic. Even 2 or 3 people, because then there are times where, I mean, we came to the US because of a friend called Philip. He was the one that got a US opportunity, and he actually told us about it, how to apply for schools and all that. One guy who was in North Carolina got his opportunity because a friend had three options, and he gave him one. So if you really want to go on this scholarship, then get someone. And sometimes you need people, because then when the rejections come, honestly, it hurts. It really hurts when you are rejected, but you need someone that you can call and cry to, or you need someone that you both, I mean, laugh about it and all that. So in order for you to go on this scholarship journey, just one, don't be individualistic. Find
Yeah.
someone, get a scholarship buddy, and just don't be selfish. Know that God has as we were talking, God has a purpose for everyone. So if your purpose is to go to the UK, trust me, you go to the UK. If as part of your purpose you have to go to the UK, go to the UK. Don't be selfish, and find your own door. One friend told me that you should find your own door. So Philip, so we have a mutual friend called Philip. When we are applying for schools for masters, I never applied to any US school. I was only focused on European schools. But this guy called Philip, he made up his mind that I'll never apply to any European school. He only focused on US schools. So he realized that at the end of the day, he was able to create that. He was able to break into the US system. Then we all followed. We didn't, because then there was a trend in our department that everybody goes to Europe. But then he found his own door, and now most people they've even forgotten about Europe, and they are in US. So find your own door. Probably you could be the person that's, there are certain scholarships that you don't know about, that people don't know about, but maybe you get that scholarship, then other people will also follow suit. So find your own door, and it's very, very helpful. And be determined. Honestly, this scholarship journey, see, it's very sad when people tell you that, oh, especially for US, you have to send emails to a lot of supervisors to get opportunity. Then you ask someone, how many emails have you sent? 5 emails with rejection. You've given up. It's very sad.
I had
Honestly,
with Abena in
yes.
the beginning.
Honestly, the process is very difficult. I'm not telling you that it's very rose. It's very difficult. You see a lot of people flying out of the country to study abroad. Ask them the experience. If they'll tell you the truth, it is very difficult. So prepare that. Know that the journey is very difficult, and put in the efforts to, because at the end of the day, it is worth it. Trust me. Yeah. I'm not going to continue.
Permit me to speak Chi for some few seconds, because it's not about saying I don't want my friends in other places to hear. So if they are not from Ghana, they shouldn't hear this. Seriously, one hour application no. Unim say unye ready. Uni says can I debate your fees no in dollars. Nanso so boss MP school on the funding. And sometimes it's not even about school name funding. No. Read it. You don't pay attention to details. You don't pay attention to what is written. What is written? Written.
Baby.
It is very easy to get admission to a school in the US. Very easy to get admission. If you can put in the effort, write those essays and all that, you will get admission. But you see the funding part. Maybe I won't pursue a bit to scan. And one mistake I realized most of the people I know made this year is the fact that usually schools give deadlines for specific times that they would be willing to give you funding if you are able to apply by that time.
Priority
Or if not funding per se, they have
deadlines.
different scholarships and things. And most of the people who applied this year did not pay attention to that. You won't believe they submitted the application after those deadlines, and they missed all those scholarships and funding. And they come to me, I go to the various websites they share with me, and I come back and I'm shaking my head. And I can't stop, because if I should stop shaking my head and start talking, I may say things that they will get so pissed with me. And that is the problem. And that is the problem. We don't read, we don't pay attention to details. Because if you want to apply to a school and it tells you you should make your application by the 1st of December to get this funding or scholarship or to qualify for this or that, please pay attention to that. Delay the application if you have to, because you need to be able to do it at a time where you know funding. You know, you may catch it because me person better. You know it. Let's be very honest with ourselves. It's not rosy out here, especially as an international student who has to come and start life afresh. So now that I've said that in Chi, and I can go on and say other things, please and please again, please apply to schools that have, that you know very well has the kind of opportunities, or let's say the kind of staff, the kind of administration or school community that will serve your interest. Because there are opportunities out here, and if you don't get a faculty that will support you, if you don't get a community that will support you, you will really go through it. You will go through it. I have friends who are having full PhD fundings and stuff in various schools, and they don't know anyone. They've been there for months, and after that, they still don't know anyone. They still go through the challenges from one professor to the other. They come to me and I'm like, why have you still not said hello to someone? Why? So start working on it. As I'm sitting here, the next step of my education phase, I'm only going to places, if it is not God telling me to go to a place where I don't know anyone, then I'm only going to places where I know at least someone, one person. And that is my focus. Nothing is going to change that until I hear this is my beloved location in whom I want you to go. If that is not the case, but aside that, if you are someone who has built the capacity, I don't even have to put it in that way, but if you are someone who is really looking forward to school outside, beyond Ghana, beyond Africa, build capacity, invest in your personal development, invest in yourself, and also leverage social media platforms, put yourself out there, put the work you are doing out there. I was very fortunate enough to get a school that had somebody who spoke my language, the graduate coordinator of my school. She speaks my language to a point where even though my LinkedIn could not speak for me, she actually gave me the opportunity to speak for myself. And I didn't only speak for myself, I was able to pull up evidence. I sent her photos of different Smiling Hour events I've hosted in person, the pictures from all these events, everything we had discussed and all. And because I was able to do that, when my visa was denied for the first time, this woman actually broke protocol for me. She said, you know what, we have to bring this young lady to the US, so let's give her a chance. Let her start online. She made me start online. I couldn't pay for my funding that semester, but she went ahead to give me a scholarship in communication, which is not given to people who are not on the school campus. You have to be on the school campus. But she lobbied for me. Why? Because I had the capacity. I had been able to prove it. And within the short period or time we had spent, she realized that it wasn't just words. It wasn't just a show off or something. So if you really want to pull this together, you have to invest in your personal development. You have to build a capacity. Raphael said he had built the capacity and he was able to prove it. When you heard that, you're excited. It makes you think it's easy. If it be easy, do it not be easy. So you had to put in the work. When Edmund said it took him 30 minutes to write the essay and send it, in my mind, I was like, I know. You are sitting there thinking it's easy. Raphael and I had to write my statement of purpose 3 different times. I wrote the first phase, he wrote the second, and we both wrote the third phase of my statement of purpose. And this is even me who had something, substance to show. We had to go back and forth on it. I'm not Edmund, you know. His capacity is
Please, I
big.
beg.
Before,
30 minutes.
before Edmond got there, do you know how many times he had written that? The ISA was like water in his head.
It took him 30 minutes. I mean, it took me weeks to be able to get my third draft and send to the school, just so I can be able to defend what I've sent to them as my statement of purpose. So please, you can do it. You have the capacity. You have the potential. I always say that the average Ghanaian would do so well in America. The average Ghanaian. And you are not even average. You are not average. I know you very well, and you are not average. So there are opportunities out here for you. There are opportunities out here for you. Put in the work. Edmund, all the fans for you.
Shaq Edmond.
I'm not
Shaq
at the beg. At the beg, pa.
Shaq Edmond. Yeah.
But aside that, we've mentioned the most important things you have to pay attention to. And yes, bank statement. You see that bank statement bits that the schools ask you for. In recent times, I've seen a number of schools withdraw their admission from some people because they realized the bank statements were false, they didn't belong to them, and blah, 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 and blah. We can follow that conversation behind the scenes because our 1 hour is up. But before I
wanted to say something.
The opportunity to add up to the study abroad thing.
Yeah. So the only thing I wanted to add, is that sometimes we overly focus on these study abroad opportunities that we miss the local opportunities. There are local opportunities. Local opportunities sponsored by international organizations, and people are missing it.
Thanks for the info.
For instance, I saw your face. I had to, clarify. Yes. So I know of a few people, friends of mine, who got opportunities to pursue their programs in Ghana, but then within the program, they have the opportunity to travel outside the country to do some exchange programs. And I would say that, I must say, a bird that handles it, then there is better than the visa. So sometimes there are opportunities locally. You shouldn't overly focus on the study abroad thing and say that maybe that is it. Sometimes that would be the platform to take you there. I have a senior, someone I dearly cherish, that a guy, of course, that he started his study abroad application in 2016 when I was an first year undergrad. He had completed his undergrad then, so he was my teaching assistant, and he started his study abroad application since then. He didn't get an opportunity till 2021. But this guy didn't allow him not getting the opportunity to restrain his ability to move forward. So he took a local program, a master's program. He pursued the master's program. And some few days after the master's program, this guy got the opportunity to travel outside the country. So sometimes I encourage people, whilst waiting, whilst applying, if you get a local opportunity, go for it. It's better you go for the opportunity and later decide to go if you get the external opportunity than to be there without doing anything and later realize that maybe the opportunity was going to come maybe some years after. So sometimes you have to flow with the rhythm of God and then be able to know when. Steps, I think I'll have to come. So yeah, but the local one doesn't mean. And there is one thing that people don't really look out for. Well, I traveled outside the country before I came here finally, and there are a lot of opportunities that will take you even outside Ghana to go and study before you complete your program. Yeah. And I had an opportunity to do that a couple of times. So I encourage people that there are these programs, internship programs, summer internship programs, entrepreneurship, leadership. There are a lot of programs that will take you outside the country to go and learn something or be mindful for some months, 3 months or so. So you should leverage those opportunities. Then they can also build your CVs and give you a better opportunity to get these study abroad opportunities. Yeah.
Right. Thank you all so much, gentlemen, for doing this with me. Even though we still have one more thing to talk about, I'm going to postpone that because I'd really want to have you two back here with me. So I will leave that one unchecked so that I can use that as an advantage to bring you here again, if you would. So I'll leave that, and we will call it a day because it's already an hour and 6 minutes. And as international students who are nurturing the culture of the Western world where we find ourselves, we want to learn to be time conscious. So we have about, I said 12 is 15 minutes. So if it's 6, we have about some minutes, and you can go ahead and give us some last words till we hear from you again. Tell us things you are working on now, where we can reach you if we have concerns with study abroad and all. We want to hear all those things from you before you go. And please don't go off the call because I'm about launching my website after this session.
Okay, so closing words. We've spoken a lot, and yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me to be on this platform. So Ralph sent me the message that Edmund Abner Smiling is having a spontaneous conversation, and I've agreed for you, so you have no option than to come. And I'm like, oh, so yeah. I mean, thank you. I enjoyed this conversation, and the thing I want to say is that we have to. I mean, you are created for a particular purpose, right? And just don't. You can act locally but think globally. You can be in Ghana but doing things mind blowing. So don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. And the Lord has a lot of greater purpose. He said your thoughts are not my thoughts, your ways are not my ways. Even as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my thoughts higher than your thoughts. Right. So God has greater plans for you. So don't limit yourself. And know that the impact that you make now, you never know. It could impact on one particular person, and the person will go ahead to impact the nation. So just do what you're supposed to do, but in that process, make sure you're not mediocre. Make sure you're not mediocre. Put in your best to do everything that you want to do. And at the end of the day, I know that the impact you're going to make is going to be very profound. Yeah, so till we meet again, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Instagram. If you have I Instagram probably I might not respond to you on time because I seldomly come here. So Edmund Labiafari, as for those who don't know, you can search me on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. I can respond to you if you have any concerns about applying to Europe or American schools. Just let me know. And if you're contacting me, just know that I'm not going to write your essays for you. I'm not going to write your CV for you. I'm just going to probably help you review it or something like that. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's right. Right. Or do I have to say something too?
Yes, say something.
Okay. I thought if my boss speaks, then that is it. But yes, let me let me add something. I will say that yes, God has a purpose for each and every one of us. In as much as God has a purpose for us, we also have a role to play. And that is why you don't have to underemphasize your role in fulfilling God's vision for your life. It's one thing to have a purpose, it's another thing to build or drive your purpose to the destination it has to go. And to be able to drive that, you need to cultivate the necessary skills. That is why, if you know any of my mentees, I have this leadership style that tries to bring up people to become self-reliant. That is, be able to nurture knowledge, acquire skills, and all for themselves. Without me, they should be able to try. So I do that by helping them gain the necessary skills. So throughout your life, if you get the opportunity, please to build a skill. Don't wait till final year and come and ask me that, Ralph, I don't know what I did, what I did as my impact project. I don't know what I did as leadership. Contribute to something whilst in school. Don't become a spectator in your department. Don't become a spectator in your church. Don't become a spectator in any community you find yourself. Do something outside academics, and I believe that will really help you. And there is something very important that I share with everyone. Please be accountable. Keep track of your life. Keep track of your life. Everything that you do today. I mean, I know Edmund has a book about himself that he writes every single thing that he does in that book. I know he has a book. He shared it with me some time ago, and I was reading. I was like, there are things in it that he doesn't even remember he did. But it's very easy if you are accountable, if you keep track of your life, because someday it's very easy for you to access that information and add it to your CV. So if you're in first year, if you do something very minute, just write it down, where you did it, how you did it, second year, whatever you did, third year. So when you're building your CV, you bring out the most important things you did. And you wouldn't have to spend another time thinking about what did I do in first year, what did I do in second year, what did I do in third year. So keep track of your life, and it will be very helpful. Thank you so much for having me. Just as Edmund said, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on Instagram. Maybe I would say I'm more active than Edmund. I come there more often than Edmund, but LinkedIn, we've swapped. So he's more active on LinkedIn. I'm more active on Instagram. So if you want to reach me on LinkedIn too, it's the same. My name, Raphael. On Instagram is Ralph, RAPH_AID. On Twitter, the same. On Snapchat, the same. Wherever you want to reach out to me, please do, and I will quickly respond to you, or I will conveniently respond to you. So thank you for having me, Abena.
The underlying word is convenience. Conveniently responsive. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for doing this. I appreciate your time so much, and I've learned a lot. So